Welcome back to Ms. Pumpkin Recapped. Today I'm going to show you a thriller movie from 2019, Annabelle 3. On this day, the Warrens drove Annabelle home. In the car, the Warrens talked and laughed, chatting to relieve boredom. The blank-eyed doll sat upright in the back row, looking extraordinarily infiltrating. Before long, everything started to go wrong. In front of the familiar road, a major accident occurred inexplicably. Under the mandatory traffic control of the police, Ed had to turn around and drive into a country road that he had never passed. After passing through a thick fog, the car suddenly stalled and broke down, leaving the couple trapped in the dark wilderness. Ed got out of the car to check the engine. Lorraine looked through the window and her fine hair on the body stood on end. Their car just stopped in front of the cemetery. At this moment, there was a grief voice from the seat behind Lorraine, "I like your doll." In the blink of an eye, all the ghosts at the entrance of the cemetery were filled with ghosts, and in the next second, the ghosts suddenly pushed Ed. The big out-of-control truck whizzed past, nearly crushing Ed. After calming down, Lorraine told husband that all this was done by Annabelle. When they got home, they invited the priest to exorcise the demons. After the exorcism ceremony, the priest warned that just praying for blessings and chanting spells is useless, and another seal must be added to this evil thing. Ed put the dolls into a special glass cabinet, whose materials all came from the church, all holy objects bathed in holy light. Even so, he wrote a warning on the glass, "Do not open the cabinet." A year later, the Warrens were caught in the whirlpool of public opinion because of the exorcism, and local newspapers openly questioned whether the couple was a heroes or a hoax. Their daughter Judy is the most affected. She has been influenced by her parents since she was a child, and she never forgets to take the cross when she goes out. Seeing parents going on another trip to catch ghosts, Judy was a little excited. In order to settle their daughter, the Warrens hired Emma, a college student, to act as a babysitter. Emma is beautiful and careful. After she sent Judy to elementary school, she was keenly aware of a strange thing. It turns out that Judy was born with the ghost-seeing eyes. Since Annabelle was brought home, Judy can always see a priest-like old man sneaking around to follow her. The ghost of the priest is terrifying, but what really saddens Judy is the gossip she suffers at school. The classmates were reluctant to play with her, and no one even attended her birthday party. Knowing that Judy's birthday is approaching, Emma went to the supermarket to buy candles and gifts. Her best friend Danny took Emma and asked, "I heard that you are the babysitter for the Warrens? Tell me, is their house really haunted?" Emma was speechless. Since the cashier Bob happened to live next door to the Warrens, Danny asked him again, "Have you ever seen a ghost?" Strange, why is Danny so interested in the Warrens? After school, Emma took Judy to make cream cakes by herself. Suddenly, she heard the doorbell ring and Emma pushed the door to look, but there was no one in sight. Turning around again, Danny was already standing behind her. Danny, who had slipped in through the back door, took out a pair of roller skates and gave them to Judy. When Emma takes Judy out to practice skating, Danny begins her mysterious operation. She walked quietly to the door of the basement and found that the door was firmly locked and there was no way to enter without a key. Unwilling to give up, she walked to the Warren couple's office. After searching, she finally found the key to the basement. She opened the basement door and walked down the stairs into the dark depths. What caught the eye were countless old objects of strange shapes, among which there were creepy standing Japanese armor. There was also an eerie white wedding dress, and dozens of coins were placed on the ancient table. Danny has one purpose: to conjure the soul of her father, who has just passed away. Danny took out her father's last photo and prayed silently, but there was no response for a long time. Just as she was about to leave, there was a faint knocking sound from the glass cabinet in the corner. Danny ignored the warnings from the Warrens, opened the glass door, and took out Annabelle for a closer look. Suddenly, the piercing alarm startled Danny, who hurriedly put the doll back in place and ran away quickly. On the other hand, Emma encounters an unimaginable and strange thing. She suddenly heard a voice coming from the gate. "Is Annabelle at home?" Emma pushed the door and saw a strange little girl. "Emma says that Annabelle isn't here, you're in the wrong place." Unexpectedly, the little girl asked back, "Are you blind?" "She is standing behind you." Looking back, there was no one behind him. Emma hurried to find Danny and Judy. At this time, they are discussing the issue of life and death. Danny said frankly that she still can't accept her father's departure. After death, there must be souls to stay in the world. Looking carefully, Danny noticed that the figure in the opposite room looked like her father. Danny was very excited and returned to the empty room, but could not find any trace of her father. When Judy went upstairs alone, she saw the nightmare of her life in the rocking chair in the guest room. Annabelle, who should have been locked in a glass case, looked straight at her. By the time Judy entered the room, Annabelle was gone. It was replaced by a note that said, "Miss me," and furniture that kept shaking. In the tremor spinning, the ghost bride in a white wedding dress came out of the mirror. The ghost bride rushed to Judy with a knife, and Judy flew to grab the cross and blocked the invasion of the evil spirit. Hearing the abnormal noise from upstairs, Emma hurriedly hugged Judy, who was shivering. After hearing that Judy has ghost-seeing eyes, Emma comforted that even if there are ghosts in this world, they are good and bad. Not all souls want to harm you. After the ghost bride incident, Judy completely confessed her psychic abilities. She said to the two elder sisters who were reading the materials, "Danny, the one you are looking at is a Cerberus. Emma, this coin you ask about is placed on the eyes of the dead and is the boat fare for the soul ferryman." In Judy's popular science, Emma saw the exorcism video of the Warrens, and Danny also learned that there is a soul imprint bracelet that can summon relatives who have passed away. Time flew by in the conversation, and late at night, the girls heard the doorbell for the third time. Strange, who is knocking on the door so late? After seeing who was coming, Emma breathed a sigh of relief. It was Bob, who had a crush on her standing at the door. Young men and women chatted up at the door, but Judy, who was left alone in the house, hit a ghost again. While looking for the TV remote, she saw Annabelle under the sofa. Immediately afterwards, the surrounding lights went out instantly. Emma and Danny hold the birthday cake and plan this unexpected surprise, almost scaring Judy to death. Settling Judy, Emma was ready to leave when she heard the sound of singing coming from the window. Everyone looked. It turned out to be Bob holding the guitar and singing love songs. At this moment, the fog was thick like smoke, and Bob turned his head to look. And the Cerberus rushed up viciously. Danny was also walking outdoors, also felt a chill. The next moment, she thought of a bold plan. Danny slipped into the basement again through the back door and found the soul imprint bracelet. She put her father's photo in the silver box and then choked out to the air, "Dad, where are you?" As soon as the words fell, the rocking chair swayed and a sad piano song was played in the frozen air. Another hand appeared on the black and white keys, and the father's face really appeared in the mirror. Danny was frightened out of her wits and immediately fled in haste for the door, but it was firmly welded shut. In the dark, claustrophobic space, only the old television set emitted a faint fluorescent light. After Danny repeatedly identified the characters in the camera, she was horrified. The distorted picture is foreshadowing the future in a minute. Is she going to die? At the same time, Emma was also frightened by the glass that fell on the floor inexplicably. She went to check Judy's sleeping situation, lifted the quilt, and saw the doll lying on the side. After seeing Annabelle, Emma's life nightmare begins. The room was so empty that it was scary, and the dialogue of the TV series kept coming out. That voice is saying, "Give the coin or leave your soul." Immediately after, one by one, the coins fell from the darkness in front of Emma. Emma is puzzled. The flashlight in her hand went out again. When she looked up again, a pair of ghost eyes had already appeared in front of her. While Emma is being dragged into the darkness by invisible forces, Bob is also being chased by Cerberus. Hiding in the chicken coop, he watched in horror as the old hen disappeared in front of him. In terms of the level of frightening, no one could compare to what happened to Judy. Sleeping Judy noticed something was hidden in the quilt, and as soon as she opened the corner, Annabelle stuck her head out. Under the dim light, Annabelle's shadow slowly got up. And that scene was destined to make it difficult for countless people to fall asleep. When the three girls each escaped a disaster, Judy understood that to end the nightmare once and for all, they must find Annabelle and lock her back into the seal. Evil spirits like Annabelle will not be captured so easily. She once again summoned the ghost bride and possessed Danny's body. As Emma said, ghosts are like people, there are good and bad. The priest, who had been secretly following Judy, was guarding her. Emma leads Judy into the Warrens' office. Behind a door that opens into a tomb of the living dead. In a realistic illusion, Emma stepped toward death and into a tunnel lined with coffins. She met the dead man holding Annabelle in her arms, in the exact likeness of herself. After a scuffle, Emma snatched the doll, gave it to Judy, and used the exorcism video to drive away the ghost bride inside Danny. The girls stumbled back to the basement, and after trying their best, they finally locked Annabelle in the glass cabinet. In an instant, the evil spirits retreated, and the light reappeared. Bob also repelled the Cerberus attack and rushed to their side, and all the nightmares were over. The next morning, the Warrens returned from their trip. Looking at the girls who pretended to be calm, they showed a mysterious smile. Lorraine quietly pulled Danny aside and said, "Your father told me that he didn't blame you for his death, he missed you." At that moment, Danny burst into tears. And her knot was completely untied.